Hey there everyone, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Donner Rising U Crystal Soprano Ukulele. They've been around since 2022. They've been reviewed some other places. I didn't want to spend the $70 that they were asking for these at one time, but right around those Amazon deal days this year, this one popped up. I do have a number of other ukuleles I haven't reviewed yet, but this one popped up and it was on a good price. So I bought it for around $40. We'll talk about that later. And I wanted to get it because I've been looking at it for a while, but I didn't want to spend almost double that on it. And it came, and I'm ready to do a review on it. That said, I just want to mention that as I look at Donner, it almost looks like they're sort of exiting the ukulele world, and I'm actually seeing that from a number of brands. Even some brands that have reached out to say, hey, would you like to review a piano? And I've written back and said, well, I've done a couple of piano reviews, but really piano isn't my main thing. I'm doing ukuleles, and I've had a couple of companies say, yeah, ukuleles really aren't moving for us right now, so we're getting out of that. So I don't know if Donner is leaving ukuleles, but when I go to Donner's own website, there's no ukuleles there. The only Donner ukuleles I see are on Amazon, and that's kind of surprising because since I came into the ukulele world in 2016, Donner has been there as a inexpensive but decent alternative. I don't know if they're exiting or not, or if it's just a lull in the sales cycle or whatever, but this one is no longer available as I'm recording this video in November of 2023. So with that in mind, what I do in these reviews is I do a full in-depth review of this instrument. First, I look at some subjective categories, then I talk about the specifications, then I summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. And I go into depth here. If you want a shortened condensed, there is a 1-minute review of this instrument also that I make. And I also publish a UkeGuide, a single page, which was inspired by the American Energy Appliance stickers that you buy when you buy an appliance that tell you how it's doing with energy use. It's a 1-page, sort of imitating that for the ukulele with all this information as well. So let's begin this discussion of the Donner Rising U Crystal Soprano Ukulele. As I mentioned, I bought this for $40 new. As I record this, it is not available for Amazon, and that also comes with this very crazy gig bag. Now, I can see why they would think it was cool, but I worry about this in a few reasons. First of all, plastic like this for me has always gotten scuffed up. I think about, I'm now in my 50s. I had some toys like the $1 Million Man toy that had a bubble house that was sort of made of material like this, and I remember how that faded over time. And yeah, technology may have gotten better since then, but I do worry about it. And I also worry about this bag getting old and cracking. So if vinyl will do that, why wouldn't this plastic? So it comes with that, and then inside you get a not very good set of strings. It has a couple, it does have a hanger on it, the bag, and it does have some backstrap on it. And let's see, it also has a pad on the bottom, which is something that I usually look for. It does have a small pocket for some accessories in the back, but it really sort of is an odd combination. And then inside, you get a little booklet with an instruction manual. I have not really looked at this too much. Tells you how to tune it and some other things. You get some of the strings, which I'm not a great fan of. You get a Donner tuner, and you get a clip strap because the ukulele itself doesn't have any strap buttons. Yes, I think you could install them much like you would an outdoor ukulele. Outdoor ukulele for a while was making a 3M strap button that you could put on an instrument like this. I don't know if they still are, but that all comes with the package, again, which was $70 one point, was $40 when I bought it, $39.99 plus tax or whatever. So, it looks like a pretty good package, even though I would want to replace the bag. That's not bad for $40. So the value actually is pretty good considering what you get. You get an ukulele that actually works, and you get a pretty, nice package of things, even if the gig bag is weird. The build quality is flawless, really. There is nothing to complain about with this. It is, I believe, one piece neck and body, and then I believe the other piece is just one piece on the top. So um, I think the actual like faceplate of the headstock and all this is just one part glued onto the body. So I think it's a two-part construction. And of course, it does have supports in there that show through sort of as that sort of almost like fractured rock pattern, which is pretty cool. Now, the build design overall is flawless, but there are a couple things I want to point out. First of all, there are no side position markers, so it makes it really hard if you're used to playing by markers. And when I was playing for Elise at the intro, I'm having to watch very carefully because there is an indentation, as you can see in the light there, for those fret markers on the front, but they're a little hard to see. And then the other weird thing, if you notice, is you've got a fret marker at 3, 5, 7, and then 9. I recently was kind of harsh on the Kala cigar box that had front position markers at 9 because standard it's 10, it seems, in the industry. Maybe that's changing. I don't know. But that's also a potential flaw for me because I could be looking for 10 and then up playing 9. And that is an issue if you have multiple ukuleles. If it's your one and only, you'll get used to it. But if you're switching between manufacturers and models, and some have a position marker at 9 and some don't, that could be an issue. So just sort of leaving that there as a potential issue. Now, one of the things I like to do is to take a look at the inside of the ukulele. So I use an endoscope, and we'll take a look at the inside and see what's going on there, even though there won't be too much to see. All right, let's take a look at the inside of the Rising U. First, we'll look at the bottom of the ukulele, as much as we can sort of make sense of it down there. I'm trying to hold this camera straight. And yeah, there is no support in the back. So for example, for like a strap on or something, you'll have nothing there. You can see that they've got really long bracing on the back side of the ukulele, and you can see the diamond design on the front. I'm trying to see if I can angle up to see where the bridge is, but I'm not having much of a luck in there seeing where the bridge is on this instrument right now. That's looking at the bottom. I think the bridge is that raised hollow area, and I can't tell if that's reinforced or not. But that's the inside of the bottom. Let's look at the upper bout here. Okay, I'm as far back as I can get here, and you really can't see that much. There's not a lot of operating room here, and these grooves are rather deep on the back. So really, there's not much to see. If I really can't angle the camera any different way to let you see any more of the upper bout of this ukulele. Again, it's plastic construction and then glued together, maybe heat bound together, and you have a functional ukulele. And that's our quick look at the inside of the Donner Rising U ukulele. Now let's talk about appearance. I think it looks pretty good. It feels good. It's nice and rounded. The pattern in there is pretty cool. I like that sort of gray color. That appeals to me. It's attractive. I know some people won't like the offset tuners or the size of the tuners, but that part works for me. What doesn't work for me is the super thin neck and nut and fretboard, and we'll talk about that when we get to playability. But I think the appearance is pretty cool. It's plain, neat, different sound hole design, sort of a dreadnought shape more than a traditional ukulele shape. It's attractive. You can see those really strong grooves in the back through the light there. It's attractive. I just wish they would have built it a little differently up here and added some side position markers. This is something that definitely could benefit from a redo. In terms of availability, well, again, as I've stated, this is no longer available on Amazon, but who knows? Maybe it'll come back or you can find one used. Now, in terms of playability, this instrument's action is dead on. So if you're looking for an instrument that's really easy to play for action, this is it. If you have super small hands, maybe this is the instrument for you. But for anybody with normal sized hands, men or women, I would say that the biggest issue is the size of the neck. The depth is not bad. Depth is pretty comfortable, but it is so narrow. This nut is 30 millimeters. Generally, companies are approaching 35 for a starting point, and we say if it's at 34, it's narrow. This is way smaller than that, and it lasts through the entire fretboard. I don't know why they designed it like that. They had the ability to make this wider, make it a full 35. If you're going to stick to that 35 measurement, or make it up to a 36, you could have done that and kept the kind of cool headstock shape and everything. And not even because it is a little body heavy, even a wider neck would have helped in that a little bit. It's not terrible, but yeah, so that as a result, the build makes this playing much more difficult. So when I go to play things, the strings are very closely put together. I don't have a lot of room on the fretboard, and quite honestly, I don't like it. Maybe again a little kid or somebody with super small hands, but even then, that's the no for me, and that's why this instrument will probably eventually get the rating that it's going to get. It has huge potential with a potential reworking, but as it is, the playability is not good. All right. Now, the sound quality at the same time is pretty good. So again, there's so much that could be redeemed here. The sound quality is not as good as an Nova soprano, which is sort of my current standard for a plastic ukulele. There's some good sustain that lasts for a while. The volume is decent. It's not super loud. The tone is pretty balanced. It doesn't sound like a tubby plastic ukulele. It isn't as clear as an Nova soprano, but at the same time, it's a good sound. The bummer is that it's so difficult to play because of that neck shape. Now, one of the things I do on these reviews is I let you see what I'm hearing by playing the instrument into the app Tonal Energy Tuner on my iPad. So let's do that. I play the C chord and do it a few times, just let it ring so you can see what's happening with the distribution of the harmonic energy. Here we go. It just stops. So it does have some nice sustain. So the tone quality here is pretty good. It's not overly loud, it's balanced, and you can see that in Tonal Energy Tuner. Yeah, it is lacking some of the pure high ends of like a solid wood ukulele, and it does have a little more of the low ends of a plastic, but nonetheless, it's a decent sound. It's just too bad that the playability suffers on it. Now that we've talked about the subjective categories, let's get into the specifications of the instrument. It is a soprano ukulele. Its scale length from nut to saddle is 13.625 inches. It has 18 frets, kind of. If you notice, you lose the frets because the idea is that the only time you need to play the highest frets is when you're doing some melody work at the very highest end, and you'd never need to play a full chord up there anyway. That's the mindset behind this sort of fretboard, and they've been around like this forever. The Macaferries had that sort of, the deluxe ones had that sort of special shape as well. My friend Ukester Brown had a custom ukulele made by Dave Talsma, who replicated that fretboard on his Macaferry wood ukulele that David had made. So anyway, with that, you have 18 frets, but only 14 full frets, 14 to the body. You do not have any side position markers, which is a pain. You do have front position markers with the oddly placed 9th fret, but you can't see them when you're playing anyway unless you're in the right light. And if you're like me and you wear glasses, it's a lost cause. The body style is a double bout dreadnought style. The soundboard is plastic. The body in back and sides is plastic. The neck is plastic. The fretboard is plastic. The bridge also is plastic, and it is sort of a slotted bridge, so string changes are pretty easy. And the saddle does appear to be removable and adjustable if you needed to, but the action is very good on here. The nut, of course, is embedded in the plastic as well. The saddle, of course, is removable. It is not a radius fretboard like an Enya, and the saddle is not compensated. That's a straight flat saddle there. It is a textured plastic, so it's not a smooth plastic, and I like that too because it gives you a little bit more grip. Sort of like the discussion of a satin. It's not as textured as a flight travel ukulele, which if I have any negatives about the flight travel ukulele, there are two. One is I don't like the amount of bracing that they have at the bottom of the ukulele when if they drop. That ends up being a weak point. And the other is I'm not a big fan of the texture of the travel ukuleles. It's not bad. This is better. This texture of this instrument is better. It feels better in the hand. It's not slippy, but it's also not bumpy. It's a good texture here. The overall length of the instrument is 21 inches exactly from the tip of this point to the bottom, and it's a little heavy, weighs 1 pound 2.2 ounces, and it is a little bit on the body heavy side where a wider neck would solve that. Closed geared tuners, purists of sopranos would not like that. It does not bother me at all. The action at the first fret is only 0.43 millimeters, and the action at the 12th fret is 2.65 millimeters, which is like textbook. Now, some people like it lower, some people like it higher. If you wanted it higher, you'd have to put a shim. If you want it lower, you could, but at some point, you're going to start to hit that first fret. So the action is super nice and low, but the negative aspect of this instrument is all here at the nut and the width of the neck. It's 30.62 millimeters for that nut. The space between strings at the first fret is only 7.42 millimeters, which is 25.15 G/A. It's the most narrow I've measured, and I think that includes my Sopranino and Sopranissimo ukuleles as well. It's really narrow. And the other thing I measure is the depth of the neck at the third fret. It's a good feeling shape. It is D-shaped, but again, it's just too narrow. But the depth of the neck at the third fret is 19.03, which is on the narrow side too. But that feels good. It just needs to be wider. And again, I'm not a person saying it has to be a 38 millimeter nut. It should be a 35, really at the least. So that's the negative aspect. Now again, with the ukulele, you also get the plastic gig bag, you get a tuner, you get the clip-on strap, which I am not a fan of, some extra strings, and a little guidebook as well. And that's all that comes with the Donner Rising U Crystal Soprano Ukulele. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories and the specifications, let's summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating. This model has been on the market for a while. I didn't purchase it because I didn't want to spend $70 on it. But looking at the Amazon Prime Day, it wasn't on a Prime sale, but it dropped to $40 and I bought it. And since that time, it has disappeared off the Amazon store. I think it is an attractive ukulele that sounds pretty good. It has a lot going for it. The feel is excellent. But overwhelmingly, the negative is this super, super narrow nut. The gig bag, I'm not a fan of the plastic gig bag, but you know what? You can buy another gig bag. You can't put another neck on the ukulele. So it's a shame. This instrument would be a winner in this same material, same overall design. The body doesn't have to be any bigger. That dreadnought body is kind of neat with that sound hole and everything. This is all good. The neck just needs to be wider. So that said, this instrument is not recommended really for anyone unless you have a very small person playing it with small hands that wants a super thin neck. Then for sure this would be a great weather safe ukulele to own, but otherwise I cannot recommend this one. So if Donner would re-release this, I think they'd have a really excellent instrument at a affordable price point to offer in that sort of indestructible ukulele. Of course, nothing is indestructible. This could be run over or dropped or whatever, but you know what I mean. It's not a wood ukulele that's subject to dropping and other things. It would probably survive most catastrophic things that would take out a wood, either a laminate or solid ukulele. So what rating would I give it? I'm going to give this one a 2.0 out of 5 possible ukuleles. it sort of is stuck with the rating of a maximum of 3.5 without the side position markers, which is another complaint I would have that I would have them fix on the next model. But really, it's all in the width of the neck, the width of the nut. It's just too narrow, too narrow. And that has to be fixed in the next model. I encourage them to do it. It's worth the development to solve that problem and make this instrument right because it has the potential to be great. But as it is, 2.0 out of 5. All right, thanks so much for watching this UkeGuide review of the Donner Rising U Crystal Soprano Ukulele. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.